and you're good to go.
All right, good afternoon. Just to kick things off, as we always have, this is the task force to study marine vessels, potentially the last public meeting. I'll be taking roll call via our visual here on the screen, so no need to call out any names. With that, I'll pass it over to Guy.
Do you want to do the approval, Tim?
Yes,
the minutes?
I appreciate it. Thank you. I forgot about that. Let me share my screen here. Is everyone able to see the minutes there?
Yep, we got them. I got
it. All right. Some minutes from the last meeting. If you have any questions or comments, if not, I'll look for an approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right. I appreciate it. I will get those posted on the website.
All right. This is Guy. So Rod and I have worked a little bit on this, but it's been a quieter month, but we're on the home stretch here. So I'm going to go in reverse order on some of these items, but I got news from Jacqueline that we have a scheduled meeting for a public hearing on Thursday, September the 18th at 3 p.m. Is that the right name for this, Jacqueline?
It's a work session for city council. Yeah,
Okay.
which are open sessions that can be watched publicly, but it's not open for public comment.
Okay. So we have to be ready to present for that. And based on that, my intent was to offer a work session with this group, and I'll reach out in email as well, either on August 27th or on September the 3rd at 1 p.m. for us to do a final review and get a vote of confidence from everyone on the task force. And we'll go through some of the items I have left to address in a minute, and wanted to see if anybody has any comments on the August 27th or the September 3rd. Both are Wednesdays. Labor Day's in between there. For me, either works. Anybody else have any comments on that? If nobody has any comments, Rod and I will make the executive decision, and we'll let.
Hang on, I'm sorry. I was just checking my calendar. Sure. Did you say the weekend of August 24th?
No, Wednesday, August 27th at 1 p.m. or September 3rd at 1 p.m.
Okay, cool. No problems for me then. Sorry.
Anybody else, any conflicts? If not, we'll make a big executive decision on that in the hours to come and let everyone know in that regard. I'm going to address a couple of other items. So the website is continuing to get input, and you might have seen in the latest report that we saw a general consensus of no STRs on house barges. That's the general consensus. I will add all the new ones that have been done. I've reviewed them, but by and large, it's keeping going on the same vein, and we'll do another summary on them, and you'll get it with the latest report before we do our confirmation at the end of August or early September. So I don't think there will be any changes in that regard. Any comments on that addendum that summarized the views of the public? Because that was sent out, I believe, after the last meeting and after we compiled this. Anybody has any comments or concerns on that?
Anybody from the task force have any concerns or anything on the way that we've outlined it?
The big silence, I'll take that as an okay on that particular end. So I have two more big things I want to then go through if we are good. The city council, not a second, the city staff, we've received a response from the Economic Development Office, and both Tim and Jacqueline have given us some minor changes there. And the remaining departments, fire department, law, planning and zoning, harbor master, public works. My understanding is correct, Jacqueline. You poked them already today,
Mhm.
and you're going to do a little more poking on an individual basis
Yeah.
to maybe answer it based on the PDF that you sent us. The one that we did get from the Economic Development Office clearly addressed the 3 items that were on the PDF that you sent Rod and I. So if you can do the same thing for those folks, and so that they don't have to answer everything, but just answer the specific issues, so that at least the city council has a response from the departments.
So I was in the directors meeting when I read your message, and so I had an opportunity to notify all the directors that some of their staff has not yet responded, even if we just need a response of no additional comments at least.
Yeah.
And I gave them, so I'm going to contact the individual staff members and give them a deadline of this Friday.
Yep. That is great. And then our intention is to take all of those responses and then put them as an addendum to the end of the report. Is that good for you? That way there is a clear, there is the public, there is the city, and then there's a task force. There's 3 different areas in the report that you can clearly look at what the general consensus is.
Yes, that works.
Okay. Got that done. And then the last thing that I have, which is probably the most sensitive area. So I want to talk about some of the comments that were made by some of the members. My intent was very willing to put that together by now, but sometimes work gets in the way of volunteering. And on that particular end, I'm not going to mention names. I'll say what has been addressed that is not in the report. One individual has concerns about the narrow space that is available in regards to the waterways and what's going on in that in Back Creek as well as in Spot Creek. I didn't feel that was directly related to the task force, so we're going to add that as an addendum and make sure that we reflect the views of that particular individual so that these things are included in the report as an addendum. I will clear it with every individual with or without their name, and that will be in the final report that we'll send to you as well. Another individual has some concerns on the STR and a recurring theme that we have seen both in the public and comments as well as from this individual. The 50 slips with the 2%, which means if you have 50 slips and you have then 2%, that means you can have 1 barge put in there. That will be important in the next point I'll bring up. There has been a concern that that is highly unfair in the city code, and that needs to be addressed, regardless of what our recommendation is. But I'll address that. I want to make sure that the individual know that we're going to have that in the report in the addendum as well. There are some comments from the law office, and I'll include those as well. And let me look, I'm looking through my notes. There's another individual. Yeah, there's another individual, and I think we'll have it as well, is that it's one thing that we have a recommendation to not do short-term rentals on barges. It's another thing to allow or not to allow barges in themselves. So that again needs to be clarified in there, and that limitation needs to be eliminated from that individual's point of view as well. So that if someone wants to put a barge in for their internal use, there's already some language to that regard in the current law, but I think it definitely needs to be clarified in that particular regard on that end. And how come it's the same thing in there as well. And then we'll go from there. There was one more, just give me 1 second. I think that's about it. Any comments from anybody that I missed? Is there anyone else here on the call and the subject matters I just brought up that you feel you have voiced that I did not bring up and that you feel your views are not represented. I think Rod and I have discussed at large. We're trying to get a report together that will reflect the view of everyone that we agree upon. And if there are some elements that people disagree on, we want to be able to let those people voice themselves in the addendum and say, this particular area I feel the city needs to know about and should be addressed as well. So I just want to make sure people here, I will do the same via email because I know two of the individuals that I just brought up are not here today. One is flying and one is somewhere in the middle of the water. Good for them. On that, for anybody else that feels that their viewpoints have not been written out in our report.
I just have a question for you, Guy. I'm going through
Yes.
the chart that you provided with the particular departments. I know that Hope Stewart from Planning and Zoning responded.
Yep.
You have some for Tyler, Northfield and Jacob Knoll. Did they provide you with what you needed, or do we still need that?
I had some comments from Tim in regards to edits and minor things that were
Yeah.
on the written language, but I did not see a Jacob. I see you're on here, or Tyler. I did not see anything or hear anything.
Okay, I'll send this back out to everybody so they know, because I also saw, I mean, I given you comments, but I did not see that there was a specific question for me before, and I see it now. So
No,
I'll have to
yeah.
get you my information.
Yeah. Yeah.
Guy, I'll send this over to you after the meeting.
Okay, got it. I heard that. It's all good. So it's good for me because the challenging thing for Rod and I, we have like 30 people shooting things at us and keeping it all straight sometimes is a little bit challenging. So if I forgot something, feel free to let us know. We don't have that big of an ego. We have an ego, but it's not that big, hopefully, on that particular regard. Anybody, anything else that you want to bring up that we feel wasn't represented fairly from your perspective?
Yeah, just thinking out loud, I have a question regarding the public's feedback through our feedback form. Is that going to be anonymous in the report? I know that people consent to the feedback being used, but I don't know that that's directly consenting their names.
Yeah, I don't think we should put their names in there.
Okay. Yeah,
Number one, so presently, that's something we can certainly resolve here. What I did, and to be very clear, I took each response and I put it in a spreadsheet, and I then used the infamous AI and put it through it. And with the exception of one phrase, what you saw in the addendum B is directly generated by AI. And it was quite astonishing to see how it was able to summarize much better than I would ever have been able to do it myself, and certainly not in 30 seconds. And so most of the work was the cutting and pasting, make sure everything was in the right spots. And I thought it was a fair reflection. I, like you, don't think I want to put that out there. I'm happy to share the spreadsheet if it needs to be as an addendum as well, but I would definitely take out the names there as well. And I think that protects everyone. And then people can see where our comments came from, if that's agreeable to everyone.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and just to chime in, Tim, if you look at how we laid this out as far as the response from the city questionnaire, I think it's very generic and it sums it up in a way that it's not pointing out anybody's individual response, but more the collective response, and there's no names mentioned or anything else. And the only people that would want to drill down into that even more would be the council, I guess, or a council member. And I think it's one of those things where I would look to Jackie or you for direction on that. Information is available to you. And then you guys decide whether it needs to be redacted with names or whatnot. But I don't know that they'll request to drill down past this summary form, but to know that it's available if required. And I'm a little uncomfortable with the whether the name should be redacted or not, because in some cases they said yes, please use my name, and in others they said no, don't use my name. So anyway,
What I can do, if that's helpful, I can take the spreadsheet And where anybody has said, do not use my name, I'll take their name off the spreadsheet. And then you'll have everything and all the answers in one document. And it's very good reading for a night where you have absolutely nothing else to do. And but it's quite interesting. There are some phrases in there that I will probably use in the presentation to the council that, you know, when you have that many people answer, some people have an act of wording things in one or two phrases and reflect what the deep feelings of the organization, of the people are. So if that's useful, I will not put it directly there, but I'll certainly put it on the website, Tim, if that's okay. And that way that will be there, and I'll erase the names of the people, the website that you, not the website, the shared drive that we have. But I'll get rid of the names that didn't want to be shared.
Sounds good.
If I may, I want to spend a few minutes on the addendum C that we wrote in regards, and then that's the last time that I have for today. And the reason I want to do that for the task member is to give an opportunity to respond to some of these things. Let me see if I can figure out how to share. There we go. Share my screen. And I'm going to share. Okay, here it goes. Let me know if you are able to see my document here.
Yep, we got it. I got it up. Guy.
Okay, so the purpose of the addendum C that we came up with, this is now first time public view. It might still change a little bit. We have to remember this is a public meeting, and this came out of two things from last meeting. There was a general conversation in the last meeting that was steering us to this recommendation here in a second that I'll go through. And as well as we read the responses from the public. This is independent of the report and the 3-page executive summary and the 20 plus pages of the rest with all the documentation that we had. We felt that after next meeting, last meeting, we had this, and that was the summary of all of this. And our general recommendation, to be clear, is no house barges, and it will solve all 8 of these points down below here. Why do we say no house barges? That is the general feeling. And I don't want to speak for anybody on this call or on the committee that is not here, or the task force that is not here, but that's what we got. And I'll get individual votes from everyone, and you can express your fact that you do or do not want it in here. One of the things that we changed since last meeting was this one thing in yellow that I added, and the legal explanation under house barges has this 2% 50, which is coming back all the time. The other thing that has not been spoken about, and I'll bring it up here, we get a sense from marina owners and others, if somebody wants to put the horse barge in or a houseboat in per our definition in the marina, that is none of anybody's business. That's a marina business, and they have to comply to all the rules and regulations that are there, that it be Coast Guard, city, and everything else. We feel it's a slippery slope to start saying that you cannot have a rubber ducky, or you cannot have a 45-foot sailboat, or whatever it is. So if we are going to change and the city follows our recommendation, the main concern seems to be short-term rentals on the water. That takes away all these other things. So the 8 points that you see here, that'd be the identity, that'd be the city code that is unclear. And the fact that there is a house barge, I'm going to say is maybe there needs to be a minimum. One member said there should be 10. For us, that's wide open. Does that mean every marina owner will put a house barge in? It doesn't really matter from what the task force is saying, but what it does matter is that we don't want the short-term rentals. So that's the general thing that we feel came out. And having short-term rentals creates a whole other set of issues, which I think are very clearly defined here. So that would be our recommendation as an overall to the city council. I wanted to open it up here to see if anybody else has comments or disagrees with this. You can send it to us via email, or you can voice your opinion now, but the intent is, in general, that is what we will present to the city council with the whole report as the 30-page documentation on why that is and the public. And then we'll see what the city departments say as well. Any comments? Rod, do you want to add anything to this? And you and
No,
I have
I-
talked
I,
about that at length. so.
Yeah, I guess I'm a little disappointed that we don't have more task force members with us here on this call, but the point of this last addendum was to provide a path forward. If you look at the initial request from the council, we went through and answered all of those questions, and it's leading us to a recommendation, but we felt like it was kind of incomplete as far as providing what the consensus of the task force was as a path forward. And so that's why this was drafted, because if you look at the natural end of all of the questions that the ordinance asked to begin with, and then include the public response, it seems quite clear that to us anyway, that the recommendation would be to not allow short-term rentals of the house barges. And by doing that, that takes away all of the anxiety related to these house barges. It doesn't take away the right to put a house barge in, which was a really big sticky feature for a lot of the marina owners. If they want to put a house barge in, they can. They're just not going to use it as a short-term rental. And I don't think anybody has any axe to grind with that, and that'll self-regulate. So that's why this addendum was in, because we felt it wasn't quite complete as a conclusion, so to speak. And so that's our intention is to include this, and then sort of see where it leads us with questions from the council after that.
Mike?
Yeah, I guess I just have a quick question. Now, this obviously is focused solely on house barges and does not eliminate the ability to do short-term rentals in any other vessel, does it? That's my only concern. I mean,
I hear you.
obviously-
I hear you. I think, go
Code-
ahead.
This is Mike Lyle, city attorney. The code right now prohibits commercialization of boats like that. So short-term rentals is commercialization that would get a citation.
Do you feel, Michael, that that needs to be even clarified more? And do you feel this task force should include your comment here? That I think, to Mike's point, is that it wasn't clear to me and certainly not to Mike as well. We are happy to add a 0.9 here and say per would you either give us the exact area of the city code where that is, and then that way we can reference it here? Because to me, it's another clarification there where, Mike, I don't know if you want to or not want to have short-term rentals on a vessel or on a catamaran or whatever it is that people, as far as I'm concerned, are big rubber ducky on that particular end and go from there. But I'm trying to be a little funny because this gets a bit serious sometimes. So
Yeah, the code is unclear.
So we should maybe clarify that code per your recommendation
Yes,
from your end.
if the task force believes that boat owners should be able to commercialize their boat, meaning they're not on it, but someone can rent it for the weekend, then that should be allowed in the code. Right now, it is confusingly unallowed.
Okay,
Right.
so go ahead, Mike.
I was just going to say, Mr. Lyles, do you think that item number 7, as it's presented on the screen, is enough to discuss that, modernize the city code, and use that as an example that is currently on the books and not consistent with current law, but could be widely being abused because of the uncertainty in the code and the way it's written?
You could.
And let it develop from there. And if the council wants to expand on that, because what we're hoping is that with this recommendation, they may turn to the city attorneys and say, let's take a look at the language, how it's drafted, and see if we can clarify that. And so that everybody from boat owners to potential charter boat operators and marina owners and everybody know clearly what the code is and what's allowed and what's not allowed. So there's not this trying to work in the shadows because it's unclear.
What you have in 7 is fine. I think the task force has a unique opportunity to suggest what it should look like. And that's really what would help us on the legal side. What is appropriate for a boat owner to do on their boat. Because the reason that STRs are a problem with house barges is the same reason for the regulators here in the city that STRs are same problem with boats that happen to be moving around.
Yeah. Okay. Well, to Guy's point, Mr. Lyles, could you forward the area of the code that details that and has language regarding that so we can take a look at that?
Sure. I'll forward that to Guy.
Yeah, that'd be
That's
just fine.
Mike, you feel that addresses that particular area?
I think so. I think there's just, there's definitely a lot of ambiguity in, the definitions of, and I understand making the recommendation of not using house barges as short-term rentals. But if there is no specific prohibition to having short-term rentals on, inspected, legal state vessels, whether it be Coast Guard inspected or state registered vessels, then I think that needs to be, at least pointed out that that would be inconsistent with what this is saying. Is that?
Yeah. So I'm going to go on a limb here, Mike, and tell me if I'm hearing you correctly. If somebody takes a big catamaran and they can sleep 8 or whatever, 12 on those big vessels, you want to know if that's an allowable use of a catamaran within a marina. Did I hear you right?
Yes.
Okay. I think that's the clarification you're seeking, right? And I'm going to say this is an item that, so we're not talking about sail time who has a shared boats where they grab the boat and there is a couple of people and they go out. They charter the boats like the rest of the charter. That is not the concern here. It's related to the short-term rentals, overnights, and things like that of non-boating activity, I'm going to say. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
I just want to know that I heard you correctly, what we need to address there.
Correct. Yeah, that's correct.
Anybody else has any other comments in that regard?
And Guy, I just forwarded you the code section 1510.050.
Okay, we will look at it. 15.
Yeah. It's broad, it's unclear, but the folks that regulate this in the Harbor Master's Office has taken anything like that commercialization to include short-term rental kind of activity at boats that are moored at mooring balls and at docks.
All right, I got that. Anybody else has any other concerns? Any new business from anyone? Any exciting stuff we need to discuss? Well, if that's the case, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn, and we all can get back 30 minutes on our relaxing Wednesday afternoon, which probably none of us has, but we'll go from there. Any motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? Anybody a second, please? So that way we can- All right. We are done for today. I wish you all a very pleasant Wednesday afternoon. I'll follow up with little notes on this, and Mike and others will have a final version of all this in the next week or two, and then we'll have one more meeting, a work session in